Bien, y estamos aquí. Muy buenos días y sí, feliz lunes. Ah, Vamos a practicar un poquito más con cosas básicas y practicar. I hope you have to start out, and we may have a few people joining a little bit later. I hope you have brought an item to describe. I do have one
Mhm.
item, and it is an interesting item. I hope you have an item. It doesn't have to be an interesting item. It can be just a plain old, it doesn't have to be interesting. This happens to be interesting because it's new. Um, but it doesn't, yeah, something that you can talk about where you can use serenidad. You can tell what it is. You can tell what kind of thing it's used for. You could talk about what kind of material it's made out of, anything like that. So if you have a little item for a show and tell, as it were, I hope you have it. Yeah, make sure you have it handy or go run and grab it in the next couple of minutes. Um, and I also hope to do a little mini example on using estar with our uh, present participles to talk about something that is going on. So the other thing I asked people to be prepared for was talk about yourself or anybody using that present progressive, saying that something is happening at a specific time. So we're going to practice with ser and estar, see what kind of questions you have. We're going to delve a little more into that one last thing. It was it was a page on the file on Ser Estar that I had sent you, the very last page, which was about words that can be used with both ser and estar. There is not a definitive list that here are all the words that will do this, but we will talk about some typical ones that are common and uh, how the word meaning may change somewhat, or the implication about the thing may change using either ser or estar, but using it with the same kind of descriptive word. So we'll do that. I've got a new item in my back pocket for if we have time to start new topic. Primero vamos a empezar con preguntas posibles, possible questions. I had sent you, and it was kind of a long video, so I told you you didn't have to watch the whole thing, pero este video de describir una caminata, describing a little hike. Sí, es el video de la mujer que está caminando, estaba caminando, she was walking, estaba caminando con su perro, estaba caminando desde su casa hacia o hasta un parque en su barrio. Y quiero saber si hay alguna pregunta. There are lots of very in context uses of ser and estar and a lot of other verbs in there. Wanted to know if you had any vocabulary or structure questions on that. Dog walking video.
I have a question. Uh,
Sí.
at at 136, she points to a large container, plastic container of water, and she calls it garrafon, Garrafon.
Ah,
But
sí.
um
Sí, sí,
I
entiendo.
I wanted to see what that meant and I can't find it.
Es un mexicanismo. This is a okay. I've got the exact segment. We're going to show this in case the rest of you forgot about it or maybe just didn't think about it. Para compartir el contexto, to share the context. And I've got the subtitles on. Ella dice, está saliendo, she is leaving, está saliendo de la casa, ¿sí? Y ella dice, voy a apagar la luz, I'm going to turn off the light, ¿sí? Y ahora voy a cerrar la puerta. Now I'm going to close the door.
Cierro la puerta y ahora cierro la reja.
And I'm closing the grid or any kind of a screen-like grate is often called a reja. Reja is like that. Not quite a screen, but with bars.
Esto es un garrafón.
And she used ser to describe, to tell you what this thing is called. Esto es un garrafón. Garrafón is a great big water jug. Okay, garrafón. Um, todo el mundo, everybody, todo el mundo en México compra agua en un garrafón.
Oh,
Almost everybody in Mexico gets
uh,
household water out of a
uh-huh.
garrafón. And you go to the store to buy a garrafón. Garrafón is a big, like, keg of water. All right. Kind of like those, those water coolers, but you would invert them so that people could,
Mhm.
yeah, it's like that, but without having the water cooler part of it. Uh, because a lot of tap water in Mexico is not great in terms of potable water, you may use it for cleaning things up, but most people for drinking and even brushing teeth will keep their potable water in a garrafón and use that
Mhm.
for actual consumption. Así
Okay.
es. There it is. And lots of people, almost everybody in Mexico is familiar with garrafones. Garrafones, it's how they buy their potable water for the house.
Mhm.
Buena pregunta. Ah, bien. Algo más. Otra pregunta del video. Another question on the video? ¿No? Ok. Todo fue una vista típica. It was a typical view. Fue una vista típica, ¿sí? De caminar con la mascota. Nada más. ¿Bien? ¿Sí? Ok. Bueno. Entonces, vamos a repasar un poco. We're going to review just a little bit, and then we're going to have your examples. So have your examples handy. I will start with mine. Pero primero vamos a ver cuáles son, ah, cuáles son los motivos o cuáles son ideas generales con ser y estar. Uh, Ser and estar is one of the most confused things for English speakers because we do not have two separate verbs that do different jobs. And because Spanish does, it can be extremely confusing, even for people who are pretty good and feel pretty competent speaking Spanish. So it always bears repeating to go through some of the reasons, but in general, en general, ser identifies. If you remember that in most senses, this ID, identification principle will carry you through most of what you need with ser. It identifies, it tells you something about the essence, the core of that thing, object, or person that are an essential part of what that person or thing is. Ser is used to say is or are to identify people and things. So this is why where we get that permanent, ser being using for permanent states frequently. All right. Um, Ser is something, and actually, ser is tied to our English word essence, right? The essence of a person or a thing, something that is core to what they are, is that's why we use ser. And there are lots of little rules, but if you keep that permanent idea there, it's helpful because the material something is made out of is permanent. Yeah. You know, you can't change it without changing the object. The where somebody is from is permanent. You were born in one place, that's never going to be different. If somebody has a personality trait, that is generally true for most of how they behave. That is going to use ser, right? Those things tend to be more permanent because they are part of the essence or the core of what that thing or person is. Uh, Estar is used for location of people and things, not events, but for people and things. It is for location. Estar, so estar, to say that estar is temporary isn't quite enough. It does, and our word state, indicating a condition that morphs, that changes. Yeah. Uh, uh, the, that's tied to the idea of estar, right? But location could be permanent or temporary. So using that temporary and permanent label is not always 100% helpful because location can be very permanent. You don't pick up a house and move it under normal circumstances. But, location can be temporary as well. And we still use estar for location. Actions in progress using the ing suffix, the ando, yendo for the action part. That uses estar, right? Estar is used for obviously changeable things like emotions, health, the condition something is in. Okay, so estar has certain rules we follow for things that may do a flip-flop, let's say. Okay? Bien. Vale. And where we get messed up, as English speakers is this difference between a characteristic that tells what something or somebody is really like most of the time, and which is a description, and descriptions which are conditions or things that may change easily. We tend to get those two. That's where our confusion comes in as English speakers of ser y estar. Because you have to think like somebody who speaks Spanish. They think of illness, right? Estoy enferma, I am sick. That is a changeable thing most of the time, under most general rules of daily life. That is a changeable thing. My physical health, also my emotional state, how I feel, right, is changeable. But what something is really like is a characteristic. So these two things, the difference between characteristics and conditions, because they both use descriptions, adjectives, that's where we kind of get messed up as a general rule. Okay, por lo general. Pero primero, vamos a hablar, sí, hablar de materiales y todo eso usando ser es normal. Ok, vamos a practicar. Voy a hablar de un objeto. It's show and tell time. Tengo que ajustar mi cámara. Estoy hablando con mi cámara. Ok, mi cámara, mi cámara está cambiando la vista. It's changing the view. Está cambiando la vista con el movimiento de las manos. Ok. Pero necesito más espacio para mi objeto. que, que voy a describir. Ok, estoy muy emocionada. I am really excited. Wow, ¿por qué? ¿Por qué? Estoy emocionada porque, acabo de recibir, I just received, mira, ¿sí? El cartón, the cardboard. Acabo de recibir, ¿sí? Am, estas ollas. Esto es como, es botella, es una botella. En algún sentido, sí. Em, Voy a poner agua aquí, pero estrictamente esto no es una botella, porque no es de vidrio. Esta botella sí es de vidrio, la material, ¿entienden? Sí. Y es una botella, es de vidrio, ¿ok? Pero esto se llama una olla. This is called a pot. Es una olla para el jardín, para el jardín. Y viene en un juego, comes in a set, viene en un juego de tres, uno, dos, tres, de tres, tres ollas. Son ollas, ollas. Ok, entonces es un pot, es una olla. Es bastante grande, sí, es bastante grande y es de terracota, terracota. No es de vidrio, es de terracota, ¿sí? Un material de la tierra. Y yo voy a cavar un hoyo, I'm going to dig a hole, voy a cavar un hoyo en mi jardín y voy a meter la olla de terracota en el jardín, ¿sí? Debajo de la tierra. Solamente con esta parte aquí arriba, arriba de la tierra. Y entonces voy a meter agua en la olla y esta olla es para hidrar, hydrate, es para hidrar las plantas que están cerca en la tierra. ¿Entienden? ¿Sí? Es, es un aparato, it's a gadget, es un aparato para dar más agua a las plantas que están en el jardín, ¿ok? Y quiero usar las ollas especialmente durante el verano, ¿sí? Cuando tenemos problemas con regar todas las plantas, when we have problems watering plants, ¿ok? Bien. Y ahora las ollas están en mi casa, pero las ollas van a estar en el jardín cerca de las plantas, cerca de los tomates, de los chiles, todo eso. ¿Ok? Es mi cosita. That's my thing. ¿Quién tiene otra cosa?
I'll go.
Ok, vale. Bueno.
Okay. This, esta es una escultura pequeña.
Ah,
Un artista de Puerto Rico se llama Iram Rosada. La hizo en 2012. Creo
Wow.
que, creo que es de arcilla, pero no estoy seguro. La base es de madera. No tiene ninguna función salvo para ser interesante, pero me gustó mucho.
Bien, sí. Ah, interesante, sí. Wow. Es un objeto de arte.
Sí,
Es un objeto de arte, una escultura. Bien. Y no estoy segura. I'm not sure how she feels about it. Is, yeah, sure, or in this case, not sure. See, ella nos dijo, she told us, no estoy segura. I'm not exactly sure. And that is a feeling, intellectual feeling that you have, right? So we use estar with that. Perfecto. Bien, gracias. Algo más. Otro objeto, Andrés.
Uh, First of all, I apologize for the phone calls. Forgive me.
Oh, no, está bien.
Um, es una vela aromática.
Ah,
Oops.
ah, una vela.
En un recipiente de vidrio de color naranja.
Ah, está en un recipiente
Mhm.
de
Yeah,
vidrio, glass.
right. Correct. Um, Se vende en un salón de Mark Reed.
Ah, ok, se
Wow.
vende, it's sold.
Right. Mhm. Yes.
Perfecto, bien, aromático. ¿Y cuál es
Yeah.
el olor?
Allure.
Huele a, smells like, huele a.
Yeah. Okay. Velea romántica.
Ok,
Yeah.
ok, está bien, ¿sí? Por ejemplo, me gustan las velas que huelen huelen a flores del naranjo. El naranjo es el árbol donde crecen las naranjas, ¿sí?
Mhm.
Y las flores del naranjo, sí, me encanta el olor de las flores del naranjo. Bien, bien. Una vela. These are simple things, ¿sí? Son cosas fáciles. Ok. Bien. Bueno, sí, Cindy.
Just curious, when you talk about an orange tree, it's naranjo,
Naranjo.
but when you talk about an orange that comes out of it, it's
Naranja.
okay.
There are many trees. I'm not going to say 100% because I'm sure that's not true, but many, many trees that get a masculine ending for the tree, el árbol. Oh,
Uh-huh.
yeah. El cerezo, cherry tree. Yeah, see? And the fruit itself will generally, in that case, often be
Interesting.
yeah, sí. Bien, bien. Bueno, hay más objetos. Any more objects, things? Bueno, sí, Cindy, dinos algo. Tell us something.
Okay. Do you want me to show you first?
Oh,
Yeah.
sí, claro.
Yeah, please. Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, how pretty.
wow.
what is it?
That's pretty.
Wow.
Ah, that's pretty.
Uh, Me encanta el arte folclórico. Folclórico. Sí.
Eh,
Melodica?
ah,
Mi amigo David me envió este artículo. Lo vio en una galería y dijo que le recordaba a mí.
sí.
Recordaba.
Ok. Ah,
Ah,
sí.
that's
El arte folclórica el arte folclórica, el arte, aunque decimos el arte, es femenina, el arte folclórica. Es curioso. That's just one of those things, an
Sí.
accented A to start a noun needs el.
Ujú.
But if it were las artes, okay, por ejemplo, las bellas artes, fine arts, las bellas artes, las with artes works, but el arte, singular, es el arte. It's because it starts with an accented A. There aren't all that many words that do that. Bien, wow. Y muy colorido, muy
Sí.
vivo, colores muy vivos, ¿no?
So, sí. I have a little bit more. Lo compré. No, lo compra y me lo envió como regalo.
Sí.
Es un pollo de cemento pintado de rojo y blanco. Él tiene un peine rosa y solo un ala.
Alas,
Okay.
alas, sí,
Un ala.
las alas.
Sí.
Pero
Um,
es una gallina, no es un pollo. Ah, es una gallina.
Gallina.
¿O gallo? Gallina es hen,
And,
Mm.
oh, okay.
¿sí? Gallo es, sí,
A
Rooster.
varón, the
rooster.
male,
A
¿sí?
rooster.
Sí, eso, sí. Gallo y gallina, gallina. Pollo, cuando están muertos, when they're dead. En el plato, en el plato es pollo. On the plate,
Uh-huh.
it's pollo.
Oh, pollo.
Vivo, alive,
Ajá.
es gallina.
Gallina.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Es gallina. O
Okay.
gallo.
En gallo.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh,
Y una.
misa de gallo, midnight mass is because the cock crows when you're coming out of midnight mass after like Christmas and it's or Easter and it's a long ceremony and it goes to like 4 o'clock. That Easter one, it's bad. I've done that. No más. Too many hours. You come out and the cock is crowing. So it's misa de gallo, pero gallinas. Gallinas son chickens, see?
Oh, gallina.
But
I had no.
they have to be alive.
Yeah. Okay.
La
Un más.
carne es el pollo. The
Sí.
meat is.
Yo entiendo. Sí. Sí. Vive en la mesa de nuestro comedor y le saca una sonrisa a la cara de todos.
Okay, sí. El artista de la gallina enorme, ¿sí? El artista tiene como una tema de usar animales, de representar animales en su arte,
Ujú. Oh,
¿sabe?
suerte. Sí,
Oh,
perdón. Perdóname.
no, no, está bien.
Ok.
Ok,
Está bien.
ok, bien.
Terminada.
Excelente, excelente. Ok. Bien, ¿hay más, Cindy? ¿More o no?
No,
Ok. Muy
finish.
interesante, me gusta mucho. Bien. Bueno, ¿hay más objetos? More objects. Marcos. Ah,
Oh, cool.
Este, este es un artículo de cerámica hecho en México. Tiene muchos colores bonitos.
Sí.
Lo compré en la tienda del Hotel La Posada en Winslow el verano pasado.
ah.
Really.
Bien, bien. Me gustan los colores. Me gustan los
Sí.
colores, ¿sí?
Mm, mm.
Interesante. Bien, bien, bien. Bueno, hay más. Karen, ¿tienes algo o no?
Yeah, I'm the last, but here it is.
Está bien.
Okay.
That's
It is
good.
this.
Oh, ok.
Yeah.
Creo que
Este
sí.
es un zapper de insectos. El zapper está hecho de plástico. Está en la mesa del patio. El zapper está matando mosquitos. Es eléctrico.
Sí, ok. Eso es, bien. Okay. I want to show you one little interesting thing which came up a couple of times and is really good to know because your reaction may be, well, why do you do that? And I'm not sure why we do, but okay. Vamos a ver. Let's see. When we talk about materials,
Mm,
the easiest way, and this is from this part of the file that I had sent you. You
mhm,
know, when we talk about plástico, piedra, terracota, ¿sí? Mi olla para el jardín es de terracota. Ah, plástico, piedra, tela, algodón, madera, cerámica, cartón, papel, metal, vidrio, all those material things. Often we use es de in front of that, right? Es de, right?
Mm.
Uh, it's of. It's made out of, and the made out of is just implied, right? We don't really have the made word in that phrase, es de, right? Es de doesn't have the made of word in there. All right, it's just implied. Es de plástico, es de piedra, es de tela. And all those things you see, material words, are things, they are nouns, they are not descriptions. So those words don't change in form into a masculine or feminine. If they are masculine, they stay that way. Okay? I could say, es una caja de plástico. It's a plastic box, right? Or es, plástico does not change because it's the thing, the material, not a description. So, es de plástico, or if you have a number of things, son de plástico, right? Es de piedra, es de cerámica, es de metal, así, like that. So, es de plus the material is normal. You may, however, so be aware of this, and some of you actually used this and it was fine. That's why I didn't correct anybody. Está hecho, or it might be hecha de. That is another way to talk about materials, just so you know. But notice that they use the two opposite to be verbs. Es de has to use ser. Es de plástico, es de tela, es de cartón. It's made out of cardboard. But está hecho de, is made of. Here we've got the made of phrase. Those are the actual words made of. All right. And if you're going to use that particular structure, we have to switch from ser to estar. Está hecho is made. Estar is working together with that hecho or hecha feminine form word, whichever one you need to use. Okay? Hecho comes from hacer, to make, to do. And hecho is a past participle. Is made out of needs está. So, curioso, curious, but because we're pairing it up with a past participle, we need estar for that structure. But It's shorter and easier to remember to just use ser, es de. It's made out of. But just know people could use either structure when they're describing a thing. And even that when you pick up ceramica and you look at the little label below and it'll say hecho en, made in, hecho en Mexico, made in Mexico, hecho en China, made in China. You'll see that word hecho, and it's the made, M-A-D-E, not the cleaning person, M-A-D-E, made word. Ok, bien, fantástico. Vale, entonces, pam, 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 pam. Quiero practicar un poco más con otro aspecto, con otro uso de estar. Estar with present progressive. Estar, and I want everybody to maybe, if they have prepped something, talk about something that somebody is doing. This estar with the ando, the ing word, or estar with yendo, the ing word for ER-IR verbs, estar with a present participle, that is an ing word. The ing word tells what action really is happening, right? Estar by itself doesn't tell you what the action is. The second verb, that it's the ando yendo part, tells you what is happening. And this, unlike English, where we kind of threw it around for a lot of different uses, it has to be specifically talking about something that is going on in real time as we are speaking. All right. That is the purpose for using this. So, todos están saliendo a la calle. Everybody is going out into the street. People would actually have to be leaving, walking out of the building for me to say that. Okay. Or mamá está lavando la fruta para el almuerzo. Mom has to be washing while I use that sentence. All right, because it's talking about something going on in real time as I am speaking. Estamos practicando ser y estar. That is an accurate
Sí.
description. We are practicing because that's what we are doing right now. Okay, te estoy explicando el proceso. If you have an example prepped, I would like you to use it, but it has to be something that really is happening right now. Como por ejemplo, ah, mi nuevo gato, my new cat, mi nuevo gato, muy joven, ella tiene 1 año. Mi nuevo gato está descansando. Está descansando al lado de la computadora. Ella está al lado de mi computadora y ella está descansando. No está durmiendo, no, sino que sí está descansando un poco. Ok. Otros ejemplos de acciones. Any other examples you've got of an action going on? Marcos.
Estoy esperando un plumero para obtener una estimación de costas para unos trabajos de, and I hope this word is right, de
Sí, tubería.
tuberías,
Tubería.
piping,
Lo siento, Marcos, sí. Sí, tubería, the piping, all the connected pipes for your plumbing setup. Sí, se dice que es tubería. Estás esperando al plomero. Muy normal, bien. Bueno, otros ejemplos de estar con ando, estar con yendo. Cindy.
Ok. Mi esposo está tomando café sentado en su sillón favorito y viendo las noticias.
Y viendo las noticias, watching the news. El pobre. El pobre, si está viendo las noticias, todas las noticias son malas ahorita, sí, casi todas las noticias. Ay, bueno, a ver, bien, ¿qué más? Sí,
Okay.
sí, sí, dinos.
Mis hijas y mis yernos están trabajando ahora mismo.
Ah,
Trabajando.
están trabajando, they are working, sí. Mi hija está trabajando.
Sí.
Ella está en mi casa, pero en su empleo, ¿sí? Ella tiene una posición, un empleo en remoto. Así que ella está trabajando en su oficina, que está en
En
mi
su
casa.
casa.
Sí, ella necesita un espacio y tiene buen espacio, sí, para trabajar. Bien. Bueno, ¿qué más? ¿Qué más? Sí, Karen, dinos.
Ok. Mi esposo está hablando con el arborista.
Ah, el arbolista, sí, el hombre que trabaja con los árboles, sí,
Sí,
detrás de la casa, enfrente de la casa. Ok, sí, donde estén, wherever they may be. Bien, bien. Bueno, Andrés.
Los estudiantes de esta clase están aprendiendo español con la instructor
Ah,
Marilyn.
están aprendiendo, they are learning. Sí, claro, están aprendiendo, they are learning. Sí, todos estamos aprendiendo, ¿sí? Aprender, to learn, aprendiendo. Bien. Bueno, fantástico. Son ejemplos de todos. Magnífico, magnífico. Ok, bien hecho, well done. Bien hecho para, para todos y todas. Bien, ok. am, Siguiente, next. Vamos a hablar un poquito con esto, porque es algo... ah, se trata de descripciones por lo general y es posible usar ser también es posible usar estar con la misma palabra, with the same word. Pero la definición puede ser algo algo distinto. Sí, sí, la descripción puede ser algo distinta. It can be something different. Sí. So sometimes, or there's just sometimes it's not so much that the word changes in meaning, but you're giving a little twist to the word. So it depends. Here are some examples of words. And I told people, some of you may have looked at it anyway because you just felt like it. But a lot of times, do not be surprised. Here is the thing to keep in mind. Do not be surprised if you hear both ser and estar used with words like this, but it will either change the meaning of that word somewhat, or it will put a spin on a slight change to a little nuance to the meaning, okay? And let's take a look at what some of these words are. And we're going to exclude that bottom line, but these are words that might be used both ser and estar. And we've got a nice little video to introduce that to you a little more in depth. Okay, grande, big. Well, isn't that a characteristic and therefore it should always use ser? Sometimes, yes, but you may hear estar used. And this is where it's a nuance, not really that the word grande means something different, but it's nuanced. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown, an example of grande, how it is a twist. Okay. Una abuela, es posible que una abuela dice de su nieto. It is possible that a grandma will say about her grandkid. Ah, Juanito. Juanito es un chico bastante grande. Juanito is a pretty big kid. See? Es grande. He's big. You know, he's probably tall. Yeah, he's a tall guy. He's stocky. He's well built. So es grande. He's a big kid. But abuelita, grandma, could also walk up to a 5-year-old nieto, sí, un nieto de 5 años, a 5-year-old grandkid. And you know how you say to the little 5-year-old, because maybe you haven't seen your grandkid in 6 months. And little kids at 5, they grow a lot. Wow, Juanito, estás muy grande. Well, yeah, okay. But not eres, you are, but estás muy grande. Oh, you look so big. It puts a twist. You look so big. You look that way. And another word that works like that really often, that you'll hear a lot, is this word rico. Now, sometimes rico means just plain rich. And if it means rich, as in somebody who owns a lot of money or has a lot of possessions, has a lot of material wealth, yeah. Uh, Elon, Elon Musk es el hombre más rico del mundo. Elon Musk is the richest guy in the world, richest man in the world. Es el hombre más rico. Es rico. He's rich. He has a lot of material objects, okay? A lot of money. Es rico. Ser with rico specifically will mean rich, as in wealth. But we often use rico with estar to talk about something being really yummy. So when you have a dish presented in front of you at your friend's house because they cooked for you, or you're out at a restaurant and they deliver your omelet or your sandwich or whatever you have ordered, somebody may look at the dish, or you may look at the dish on your plate and say, está rico, after you taste it. Está rico. It is delicious. So rico can mean delicious, but you have to use it with estar because the way it is presented, the way it looks on that plate, the way it tastes, the way it tastes. Okay, with estar, often we're talking about an observation of how something seems, how it feels to you. Okay, so some of these words, oh, and you know what? I'm sorry, I got off that page a little bit. So when you look on the surface, big, little, the opposite, handsome, open, closed. Oh, bored or boring. That's interesting. Aburrido can mean bored. It can mean boring. Listo. Ready. Yeah. Or clever, smart. Somebody with a lot of quick intelligence. Yeah. They're quick. They're quick to pick up on stuff. Listo. Rico, rich or tasty. Frío, just cold. Oh, wait, that could go either way. Verde, green. Green or something that isn't yet ripe. Oh, if something isn't yet ripe, that's a state that will change with time. Yeah, está verde is something that's green, as in not yet ripe, right? But es verde, describing the color, that's the color it is, right? It's just part of the makeup of whatever that object is. Es verde, it's green, right? Seguro, sure or safe. Yeah. Bueno, good and bad even can flip flop a little bit. Bien. Okay. Let's see a video that's going to explain some of these differences. Uy, ¿dónde está? Where'd it go? Uy, ¿dónde está? Lo tenía listo un momentito. Lo siento mucho, lo siento mucho. Ah, aquí. Bien. Okay. Vale. And that list I showed you is not a definitive. That's the only words time you'll ever hear it kind of list. It's, oops. I need to change one more thing. I'm sorry on my speaker screen so that this turns out properly for people who are watching it later. Okay. Está bien. Pueden ver a las dos personas. Pueden ver a las dos personas. Can you see these two people?
Yes.
La mujer a la izquierda y el hombre a la derecha. Ok. Ellos van a explicar muchísimo.
Bienvenidos a Coffee Break Spanish.
Welcome back to the Coffee Break
And I
Spanish.
think actually we can skip the first 1 minute because it's intro stuff. Y queremos la explicación. We want the explanation. Queremos los ejemplos. We want the examples.
To be.
Okay.
But they can sometimes both be used in a sentence, but it might change the meaning of the sentence in English.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it changes, sometimes it doesn't. So remember that in the previous episode, we talked about identity for ser and circumstance with estar. So I'll give you an example when the meaning of the adjective that follows doesn't change.
Okay.
So if I say soy soltera, I'm single. That
And actually that's where wow. That's a bad thing. Yeah. Soltera. Sol, S-O-L. T-E-R-A, soltera. Soltera means single, as in not married. Okay. Soltera is somebody who is single.
okay, that means I'm single.
Yeah.
But I can also say estoy soltera.
Yeah.
And that also means I'm single.
Yeah. But there we're talking about, again, the identity versus the circumstance. So if you say soy soltera or soy soltero, it means you identify as a single person.
Eso es.
Whereas if you say estoy soltera or soltero, then it means that at the moment you're single, you don't have a partner, and that's the circumstance in a sense.
And those relationship words you may hear with both ser and estar. And that is a situation where it doesn't change the meaning that much, but you may hear it used. So, soy soltera, I'm a single gal. Soy soltero, I'm a single man. But estoy soltera, I'm single, I'm in that state that I don't have a partner. It can use either. And the difference in the meaning conveyed is very slight. Very, very slight. But in other situations, it'll be a more dramatic
Exactly.
change.
That's my temporary circumstance. So that's why I am deciding to use estar.
Perfecto. Okay.
Vale.
But they do sometimes change meaning, don't they?
Eso es, yes. So that's what we are going to be looking at today. So the most common words if they go with ser, they mean something. If they go with estar, they mean something else.
Okay, and for each word here, we're going to go through a list of adjectives, and for each word, we'll give you some example sentences where you can hear both the meaning with ser and the meaning with estar.
Exacto.
Shall we make a start with abierto?
Vamos allá. So, abierto. Ser abierto is not the same as estar abierto. So if I say, mi padre es muy abierto, puede hablar con todo tipo de personas.
So
Yeah. Abierto, abierto, open. Mi papá es muy abierto. He's an open person, meaning he is very approachable. That kind of open. He is easy to talk to. He's easy to walk up to and you can speak with him. Es abierto. He's an open kind of person. Es abierto. That's part of his personality, that he is just easygoing and easy to talk to.
in that case, my father is very open. He's a very open person. He can speak with lots of types of people.
Exacto. So I'm talking about a personality trait.
Yeah.
So I'm taking that as part of his identity as a
Exactly.
person.
Sometimes it helps if you can take the English adjective and put it into the sentence, he or she is a very blank person, then it inherently means that you're talking about someone's identity.
Yeah, if you can insert the person thing in the English phrase, he's an open person, right? He is an interesting person. Then we're using ser because we're identifying something about that human's personality.
And their characteristics as a person, their
Their traits.
personality trait, as Concha said. So there, mi padre es muy abierto, puede hablar con todo tipo de personas. Pero también podemos hablar de abierto con estar.
Eso es. Por ejemplo, la tienda está abierta hasta las 11.
So there, in a sense,
Yeah, la tienda está abierta. The store is open. So la tienda está abierta is not talking about a personality trait. It's talking about whether the store is open for business or closed for the day, right? What their schedule is, where you are in the scheduling. And that is a changeable state. And it's a kind of a toggle. It's either open or closed, but it's in one of those states. So está abierta, that talks about a state that changes, right? When the schedule is a different time of day. So we need to use estar because it is
the
changeable.
usual meaning of open, of the abierto. La tienda está abierta hasta las 11. The shop is open until 11.
Exacto.
Okay,
Eso es.
let's take another adjective.
Vale, pues tenemos listo o lista.
So listo can have two meanings depending on whether we're using ser and estar. Let's hear an example with ser.
So if I say, es muy lista y por eso aprende muy rápido. So we are talking about a person who is very smart and that is why they learn so quickly, or that's why she learns so quickly because we use the
Ser with listo, somebody who's smart, clever, they pick up on things quickly, right? It's like a synonym for inteligente, but not necessarily book learning, yeah? Just their ability to pick up on stuff. Es listo.
feminine form of the adjective.
Oh, lista, sí. So es muy lista. She is very clever.
Así
Y
es.
por eso aprende muy rápido. And for that reason, she learns very quickly. So that's listo or lista with ser. But when we use listo or lista with estar,
It changes drastically. Exacto.
It changes a
So
lot.
I can say, en 5 minutos estaré lista. And that means in 5 minutes, I will be ready.
ready. Okay, so you're not going to be clever in 5 minutes.
No cleverer than just now, at least.
Well, it depends. If you're listening to Coffee Break Spanish, then maybe you'll get a little bit more clever.
Definitely.
But yeah, that means you're going to be ready. Estaré listo or lista in your case.
Eso
So
es.
en 5 minutos, in 5 minutes, estaré listo or lista. I will be ready.
Exacto. So ser listo means to be clever or to be smart, and estar listo o lista, to be ready.
Perfecto. Let's look at ser claro and estar claro.
Muy interesante. Sí. Vale. Ser claro. I'm going to give you an example. Me gusta que el sofá sea claro. Va muy bien con el resto de los muebles.
Okay.
So, I like that the couch is light, of a light color.
Yeah. Claro can mean clear, as in light, or clear, like, well, yeah, light in color, not a dark color. Yeah.
say, because it goes well with the rest of the furniture. It goes, va muy bien con el resto de los muebles. So in this case, we are talking about the color or the shade of color.
Shade, yeah.
Exactly, of something.
So me gusta que el sofá sea claro. I like that the sofa is light. I like it that the sofa is light. Va muy bien con el resto de los muebles. It goes very well with the rest of the furniture.
Eso es, sí.
But we can also use claro with estar.
Exacto, y tiene otro significado completamente diferente.
Claro.
So,
Claro.
eso es. So if we look at an example, no entendía la diferencia, pero ahora está clara.
So
Yeah, I didn't understand the difference, but now it is clear. Está clara. It is clear.
I
As an
didn't
obvious,
understand
yeah.
the difference, but
Understandable.
now it is clear.
Exacto,
Not light colored, but clear. Claro, clara.
eso es.
And we're using clara here because we're talking about la diferencia.
Sí, femenino.
Perfecto.
Vale.
Shall we move on to another word, another adjective?
¿Sí? ¿Qué te parece si hablamos de bueno?
Me parece buena idea.
Ah, perfecto. Vale, pues el ejemplo es, este ordenador es muy bueno. Tiene 5 años y aún funciona perfectamente.
And
So
when,
this
when she uses ordenador, that is the Spanish word for computadora. So, la computadora es buena. The computer is good. It is a good piece of equipment. It operates properly. Okay, la computadora es buena. It's a good piece of machinery. It's a good object. It works.
computer is very good. It's 5 years old and it still works perfectly.
Exacto. So we are talking about the quality of the computer. It's very good.
Yeah. But when we use bueno or buena with estar, it takes on, it's used in a very specific circumstance for talking about food, and it takes on a different meaning.
Eso es. So, for example, if we talk about esta paella está muy buena. ¿Quién la ha hecho?
So this paella is really good. It's really tasty.
Eso es.
So, estar is used with bueno often for foods, just like estar with rico is often used for food. When you want to imply that something tastes good, it might be phrased as está bueno or está rico. Either one, right? But that estar tells us about, it's a state of it's tasty. Bien, not necessarily that it's good for your health, right? El chocolate está bueno. The chocolate tastes good. El chocolate no es bueno para la salud. The chocolate is not necessarily good for your health, but it might taste really good. Está bueno. Okay.
¿Quién la ha hecho? Who made it?
Exacto. So it's more related to the taste, to how rich the food is. Eso es.
And just to be clear that ¿quién la ha hecho? There's 3 words in there. La ha hecho. Who it has made.
Ajá, exacto. So ¿quién? Who? It. La is related to paella. That's why we're using the singular word. And this is a pronoun. So it's substituting to not repeat paella all the time.
Exactly.
Eso es.
Okay, good. Now, if we've talked about bueno, then we should also talk about malo, because that also can change its meaning.
Eso es, sí. So if we use malo with ser, let's look at an example. Espero que el tiempo mañana no sea malo.
Nice example with a lovely subjunctive, Concha.
Eso es.
Espero que el tiempo mañana no sea malo. I hope that the temperature tomorrow isn't bad.
Exactly. So the first meaning that comes to mind when you say it's bad, something is bad. But if we use malo or mala with estar, the meaning changes again. So, esta manzana está mala, no sabe nada bien. That would mean that the apple, this apple, tastes a little strange. It has a strange taste, like it's gone bad.
It's gone bad. Yeah, it's gone off or something like that. So esta manzana, this apple, está mala. It is bad, but it's gone bad. It's gone off. No sabe nada bien. And that sabe is an interesting verb. It's not from the verb saber, meaning to know.
No, it's from the verb saber, meaning to taste.
Yeah, so 2 verbs which both are saber, but they have 2 different meanings.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. No sabe nada bien. It doesn't taste nice at all.
Eso es.
Okay. I think we've got time for one more. And what we're going to do is one that I've come across many times. and it is reservado.
Sí.
Because I think this is something we see when we're out and about. We might be seeing a seat or a place in somewhere where it is reservado.
Yes.
But it's got different meaning when we're talking about people.
Yes, exactly. So when we talk about people, we use the verb ser. So, for example, we could say Luis es muy reservado, nunca nos cuenta nada.
Yeah.
So that means that Luis is reserved. So
Yeah, reservado can mean reserved, as in, you know, they kind of sink into the background, right? Somebody who somebody who isn't necessarily real super extroverted, right? Es reservado is a reserved person. They're calm. They don't necessarily talk a whole bunch. Es reservado.
he's a shy, a reserved person. Nunca nos cuenta nada. He never tells us anything.
Yeah, okay. But if we're talking about a table in a restaurant, for example, we could say "Lo siento, señora." If you go up to the waiter or the waitress looking for a table, and you might hear "Lo siento, señora, esta mesa está reservada." Puede sentarse en esta otra. You can sit in this other one.
Exacto. So if you go to a restaurant in a Spanish-speaking country, you would say, esta mesa está reservada.
Yeah. Is this table reserved? You're not describing the inherent characteristics of the table. It's not a person.
Right, yeah. You're just saying the table is set aside, right? It's in that state of being not occupied yet, but it is set aside for somebody. So that's considered a state. La mesa está reservada. The table is reserved.
Personality trait of the table?
No, no. The table is not shy.
Exactly. And interestingly, in English, we've got that word reserved, which we can use in both senses. So we can describe a person as being reserved and a table as being reserved. But when you're remembering which one to use there, remember to use the correct verb to describe the kind of reservedness that you're talking about.
Eso es.
That's all we've got time for in this episode, talking about
Okay, so that
these words,
gives
and
you
it's not an
some
exhaustive list.
examples of how some words might use either ser or estar, depending on the idea we need to convey. Okay, bien. And there's not a definitive list I can give you, but I'll give you one example with that word frío. So let me go back to this. Actually, I'm going to give you a couple of examples with two words here. Bien, let's take a look at this word here, frío. Frío. If cold is a state that might vary relatively easily, I need to use estar. And that's, I would say, often the case. Yeah. Por ejemplo, ¿sí? Por ejemplo, en invierno, en winter, en invierno, el agua del lago, the lake water, el agua del lago está frío. El agua del lago, the lake's water, está frío. It feels cold. Yeah? It feels that way. That's the temperature it's set at. Well, it's not set. It just is at that level, right? Durante el invierno. Okay. Bien. But if we want to describe somebody as not being very approachable in a kind of negative way, that their personality is just standoffish, you may hear somebody described as, and let's talk about a woman in this case. La señora Martínez es una mujer fría. She's a cold woman. She doesn't have a lot of warm feelings. She is not approachable. La señora Martínez es una persona fría. She's a cold person. Not that she feels that way, but she acts cold. She's not a warm and fuzzy kind of person. Es fría describes a kind of a negative aspect of her personality. And then we have to use ser. It's not how she feels, it's how she acts. She's not warm. This word, similarly, you often hear as well. Aburrido. Aburrido, when it's a characteristic, it means that person or topic, let's say, is a real yawner. Okay? So, thank God for the rest of you, we did not record this part of the conversation. Reparar, unless you're a person who is really into the fix-it aspect of life. Yeah? Reparar, repairing. Reparar partes de la casa, repairing parts of your house. ¿Sí? Reparar partes de la casa es algo aburrido. Fixing stuff around the house is a boring thing. ¿Sí? Reparar cosas de la casa es aburrido. It's a boring topic. Bien? ¿Sí? And that's just the way it is. That topic is boring. Or you might say, maybe you had like the most yawner of a guy, or I did, to teach my econ class in college. See, my econ teacher, God rest his soul, probably, uh, was not a guy who inspired tremendous interest. So many people would say, el profesor Smith es un tipo aburrido. He's a boring guy. Es un profesor aburrido. Es aburrido. He's a boring person. Su clase es aburrida. His class is boring. Aburrido, boring. Es aburrida. La clase es aburrida. El profesor es aburrido. He's a boring professor. You're talking about a characteristic of that class or that person, that teacher. Es aburrido. That's the way it always is, right? But if I feel bored right now, estoy aburrida. I am bored. Okay? Por ejemplo, no tengo nada que hacer. I have nothing to do. No tengo nada que hacer. Estoy aburrida. I am bored because I've got nothing to do. Okay? O, por ejemplo, no me gusta la película. I could say, la película es aburrida. The movie is boring. Or, estoy aburrida con la película porque no me interesa. I'm bored with that movie because it doesn't interest me. So be aware with ser and estar. Some words can do the flippy flop. Yeah. And estar will generally often talk about how we feel about a topic or a person, right? Whereas estar will talk about what that thing or that human being is really like. Okay? ¿Entienden? ¿Sí? ¿Sí? ¿Bien?
Bien.
Just be aware. It may do either, but think in terms of if something is described as está, it's a changeable or potentially changeable kind of condition. Okay, something that may be altered. Okay, bien, vale. I am going to give you a list to a website that will give you some more examples of that. Some of them are quite similar because some of these words come up a lot, like that word listo comes up a lot, reservado comes up a lot, and you will I'll give you the list so you can read more about that later, so you can see the other examples. Okay. Bien? ¿Vale? Okay.
Está bien. Ujú.
Bien. Okay, vale. Entonces, so what we are going to do next is we are going to introduce a new topic to think about. I'll give you a little video because the video is kind of a fun presentation, but we're going to talk about this. It's also a very basic idea, akin to the idea of ser en estar, being very basic. And again, I will send you this, the link to this presentation, so you don't need to take notes off of this right now. Muy en grande said. I'm going to make this bigger so those of you on tablets can see it a little more easily. And this is, again, a very basic thing, like ser en estar is very basic. How do we ask questions? All right. A lot of times you may say, well, you know, or people may say, well, you're at a point as a beginner where you need a lot of input. You need to listen to lots of people as they speak about things so that you get used to patterns. And that's all fine and good. But then you get to the point where you need to ask for something or about something because you need help. Yeah, and this is very common when you're in restaurants, when you're in stores, when you're looking for something specific, you're out shopping, when you're getting to know people, when you're having dinner with somebody and you've got to make small talk. Conversation is not built on just listening to the one side, but asking questions. And people may ask you questions, and therefore you need to know how to respond. And on the other hand, you may need to ask questions. So, while I will give you this file, because at the end it's going to have a little homework assignment for you, we're going to talk basically about questions and how we form them. And there are kind of two schools or two types, two very general categories of questions. Some questions are just yes or no questions. Yeah. You just need a yes or no response. And those are the easiest questions to form. But some questions you might be asking for more detailed kinds of information. A yes or a no is not sufficient, right? What time is it? Yes or no does not answer that question. Uh, when does the plane leave? Is not a yes or no question, right? You need more information. So we're going to look at those two types of questions, and there are just very subtle differences. The more information category will need special kinds of vocabulary to ask those questions, and that is what your little video will detail. Okay. For yes, no questions, the verb will flip. It will come first. It will generally be the very first thing you hear will be the verb. But in Spanish, we don't use a do or does word. English has to plug in the do word or the does word. Does he have enough money? Do you know which airline you're on? English needs do or does. And that do or does word merely implies is a flag. It's a warning. It tells you here comes a question. But the do or the does by itself, not super important in the rest of that communication. Not really important in the rest of the question, right? Do you know the airline you're using? Well, the real important part of that question is know the airline, right? That's the core. That's like the important part of that question. And the do just signals here comes a question. Okay. In Spanish, if we want to ask a yes/no question, the verb generally comes first, and that do word won't be a thing, right? So if you want to ask about selling something, the question becomes, ¿Venden camisetas aquí? Do they sell t-shirts here? And the do word isn't even translated, but the sell part is. Venden. Do they sell? Because, generally in a store, they, faceless people, right? They do this action of selling. Venden camisetas aquí? Do they sell t-shirts here? And, the response you may get may be only one word, sí. Or sí, venden camisetas aquí. Sí, se venden camisetas aquí. Yes, they sell t-shirts here. Another response may be, sí, a ver, sí, se venden camisetas. And that's just a more impersonal way. T-shirts are sold here, right? That's just kind of the se venden is a more impersonal kind of structure to say that, right? But it can be just sí, venden camisetas, or just sí, a yes or no question, right? You just want a yes or a no. You may get a whole sentence, you may get just a yes or a no, but it's a yes/no question, all right? So the verb has to come first, and the word do or does is not something that happens. It does not get translated, right? Okay. It might be the verb first, and that verb is conjugated for the person you're asking about. Okay? Like the idea of drink. The question might become, ¿Bebes café? ¿Bebes? Do you drink coffee? Or are you drinking coffee? Right? As opposed to a different kind of drink. And the do isn't used. Just the verb, bebes. This time conjugated for tú, because I'm asking you a yes/no question. Are you drinking coffee? ¿Bebes café? Or do you drink coffee? As opposed to maybe you're a tea drinker, or maybe you drink nothing with caffeine at all. Okay? And in this case, the bebes is conjugated for tú, right? The response might just be one word, sí, or no, right? Or they might use sí, bebo café, or just bebo café, right? Your response may vary, but we're soliciting, we're asking for a yes/no answer, okay? And in here we have to get we answer a tú verb question with a yo verb answer if we use a verb to answer that, okay? Bien? So if you're just soliciting a yes/no, verb first. Make sense? See? What form that verb takes depends on if I'm asking you about yourself, yeah, tú, if I'm asking about somebody else, right? Like I might ask Cindy, ¿Dónde está? Trabaja ahora tu esposo. Is your husband working now? Trabaja ahora tu esposo. Trabaja, is he working? And it's conjugated for her hubby. See, trabaja ahora tu esposo. Is your husband working? Right? Bien? So the verb will be conjugated according to the person we're asking about or the person I'm addressing directly. If I ask you, do you guys understand? That's a yes/no question, right? You either get it or you don't. It's 50-50. ¿Entienden ustedes? ¿Entienden? ¿Entienden? I'm asking all of you. ¿Entienden? So I conjugate it for you guys, ustedes. ¿Entienden?
Ujú.
right? If I'm only asking one person, ¿entiendes? ¿Sí? Bien? So, yes, no questions. Vale. We good so far? Sometimes a yes, no question isn't enough. What do you want to eat? Yes. Doesn't do it. Doesn't cut it. And so here is where we're going to be doing some vocabulary review. If the question needs more than a yes, no answer, we still are going to have a verb in there, but instead of leading off with the verb, we're going to lead off with one of these words. So the first thing will be not the verb yet, but first, what we call an interrogative. And it's just a fancy word for a question word. All right. And there are a whole lot of question words, which is what your video is going to be about. ¿Qué? What? ¿Cuál or cuáles, which might be interpreted as which or what. And the video is going to talk about that. As English speakers, sometimes we use que where we should use cuál or vice versa. But anyway, que for what, cuál, which technically is which, but also might serve as what, and cuáles, it gets a plural form. Notice que doesn't get a plural form, but cuál might have a plural form. ¿Quién or quiénes, the who word when we need to ask about a human being. ¿Quién implies that it's one who. ¿Quiénes implies it's more than one person in the group to describe who. ¿Cómo? How. Okay. And notice como with no accent mark might in other contexts mean like. Yeah. As in like this phrase, como por ejemplo. As, you know, como por ejemplo, like for example, right? But como with an accent mark when it's written, right? Como, and it leads off a question, means how. ¿Cómo estás? How are you? Yeah, the most common question that we do for chit chat. ¿Dónde? ¿Dónde? Where? Asks about places. It might morph slightly, and sometimes this gets separated into two words. A donde could be separated into two words. I'm used to it being one word. No biggie when you speak. It makes no difference. A donde. A there, the a in front of donde indicates motion. When we are responding to that question with a verb of motion, like walk, go, drive, right? You might need a donde, or from where might get de donde, right? De donde, where is somebody? De donde eres? De donde eres? Where are you from? Not where are you located right now, but where are you from? Like originally, right? Where were you born? De donde? De donde? So donde sometimes needs extra words grouped around it. Cuando, when we want to talk about anything related to time, right? Well, most things related to time. Cuando. Cuando might get a general response, as in a day, a month, or something very specific, like a specific time. But if you really, really, really need a specific time, like on your watch, right? A time of day, you might get a more specific question word than cuando, and that is a qué hora. A qué hora, at what hour, literally, but in English we express that generally as at what time. Rather than asking at what hour does the train leave, a qué hora sale el tren, a qué hora sale el avión. What time does the plane leave? What time does the train leave? Right? A qué hora. All right. And then we get this word, which may morph into different forms. Cuánto, how much, but it may also get plural forms, cuántos or cuántas, as in how many items. right? When you're asking for a quantity of things or people, right? And then it will need a gender assigned to that word, cuánto, or masculine or feminine, or plural. So cuánto may go into plural forms, cuántos or cuántas, right? Technically, you can have cuánta as well, with an a at the end here instead of an o of cuánto. And por qué. Por qué is probably the hardest kind of question, but in some ways the most common. Por qué is why. And boy, that requires a lot of information that, you want a reason relayed to you. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? And actually, I'm going to add one thing to our question list, which is para qué. Para qué is another kind of what for? What is something for? Meaning a use or a purpose, right? Whereas this wants a reason, por qué wants a reason, a para qué wants generally a use. Para qué es la olla? What is that pot for? Yeah. I will. Okay. So, last tidbit before I let you go for the day. How would you answer questions using interrogatives? Well, or how would we ask? Sorry. How do we ask? How do we ask a question using interrogatives? Normally, whereas in Spanish, the word order is the verb comes first. In this case, we just need the question word to lead off, and then we'll plug the verb in right away. So the verb is still up front, but we need that question word in front of it when we're asking for more information. That idea of does or do never gets translated. That very common thing we do in English of having a do or a does word, cut it out. We don't need it. We don't use it. In this space, you're going to have preguntas del día. You're going to be fashioning some questions as part of your homework after you listen to the video, okay? And you'll be creating some questions that you think you would typically need to ask, okay? Things that you would really want to use as you're out and about, traveling, moving about your day, and you'll see what those are in that particular slide. Okay? ¿Todo bien? All good?
¿Todo bien?
We're gonna move into the interrogative thing for next week. Excelente. ¿Hay alguna pregunta? Hay, the verb up front. I want a yes, no answer. ¿Hay alguna pregunta? Is there any kind of question? Does it exist? ¿Hay? ¿No?
No.
Nada.
No.
Bien, perfecto. Muy bien, muy bien.
Muy bien.
Okay, todo eso. I'm going to give you a little estar storytelling video, which is a little more entertaining, and then a video that talks about the interrogatives, and you'll have some homework to create some questions that would be useful for you,
Okay.
that are useful for you. Okay, bien. Eso es todo para hoy. That's all for
Está bien.
today. ¿Sí?
Gracias.
Bien, vale.
Gracias.
Gracias por participar. You're going to be.
Hasta luego.
Yeah, hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
Excelente. Que tengan buen día. Have a good day.
Igualmente.
Bien, sí, gracias. Muchísimas gracias.